Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking more about Markov models. Markov models are something that we were talking about when we last left, and today we're going to think a little bit more about them and do a little bit of a workshop exercise on that. So for starters, let's remember what a Markov model is. A Markov model is a dependent model. We were thinking previously, before we started thinking about dependent models, on machine learning algorithms where we tried to predict something, and we would predict it based on a number of features. For example, we might predict, based on the time of day, what the vending machine was going to sell. But when we did that, we never considered what the last thing the vending machine sold was as part of our input. We just considered everything kind of as one moment in time. So the dependent model says that, hey, the last thing that was sold, the last thing that we predicted, has impact on our prediction for the next moment in time. These are called dependent models, and a basic way of representing dependent models mathematically is as a Markov model. So for starters, for a Markov model, what you need to have is you need to have a set of states, and these states are basically things that you're predicting. These are the classes that you're predicting. So previously we would have said drink or candy or chips, but now we're going to instead of calling those the predictive class, we're going to call them states, because we're going to move through those different states in a way that reflects the way the real world works in different situations. So a basic example of this would be words. As you move through words in a sentence, you consider each word as being a state. So you might want to predict what the next word in a sentence is going to be, and that clearly has some dependency on the word that came before it. So words could be an example of states. Another example of states could be a location. If you want to predict where someone is, or where a robot is, or where a self-driving car is, well, it'd be really helpful to know where the self-driving car was 5 minutes ago. And so you can consider locations as being states. Maybe you think of the world as being chopped up into a bunch of little grid squares, and each one of those grids is a state. And you say, hey, if I knew where the car was 1 moment ago, I have a really good guess on where it's going to be in the next moment, because it can only go so far within that given time state, within that given time range. So in that way, the classes are dependent on the previous class. Generally speaking, we could have any random variable that we're trying to predict. We could predict any continuous number, the weather. We could predict any particular class that we're interested in, like what we're selling from the vending machine. But the thing about the dependent model is the next prediction depends on what our previous prediction was. And previously we talked about how the Markov property is a particular property that says that if we know what the previous prediction was, then we get no additional information by knowing anything earlier in our history. It is sufficient to just know what our previous prediction is in order to know what our next prediction is. So to a certain degree, location is like this. If you know where your self-driving car was 5 minutes ago, that's enough to make a really good prediction of where it is now. You don't really need to know where the self-driving car was a month ago. That doesn't help you a lot in the prediction in the next 5 minutes. So the Markov property says we're going to cut off consideration of a given prediction now, and we're just going to base it on the previous prediction a moment ago. Okay, so that is our set of states. A Markov model has a set of states. A Markov model has a distribution over the first state. Where are you going to start? What word is your sentence going to start with? What location is your self-driving car going to start at? Maybe which server is a packet of data going to start at? What dollar value is your stock price going to start at? And then once you know where it starts, then you predict what the next step is going to be. And that next step is a probability distribution of moving from one state to another. So we ask, what word follows dog in a sentence? Well, some word has got to follow dog, so there's a 100% probability of some word following dog, and that 100% probability is chopped up and dealt like cards to all of the different possible words that might follow it. So maybe the next word would be jumped, the dog jumped, and so if we knew that the word was dog, we might guess jumped is the next word with maybe a 1% probability or 5% probability. All the words that reasonably follow dog have some probability as the next move. Maybe we want to predict where the robot is going to go after being at the mailroom, and we say, oh, well, a really good prediction after the mailroom is that 50% of the time the robot will stay in the mailroom, and 50% of the time the robot will move into the hallway. So in a world like this, we're considering different rooms to be the states, And the transition from one room to another room is our probability distribution of moving between states. The robot's got to go somewhere, even if that somewhere is staying where it is. Okay, maybe which server we're interested in is our probability distribution. We're interested in tracking packets of data through the internet. We might want to say particular servers are states, and we're trying to predict where our packet is going to go next in the internet. So we might say that our packet is going to start at the Westmont firewall, and the next server that it goes to, maybe it'll be a Cox server, maybe it'll be a Verizon server, maybe it'll be a server associated with some other internet service provider. Maybe there are 3 possible servers that it could go to, and so maybe there's a 33% chance for each outgoing server of moving from Westmont to that server. And finally, you could have a more sophisticated prediction and say that, hey, what dollar value is your stock price going to be tomorrow if it ends the day at $15 today? In this case, you might actually have a probability distribution that's represented as a continuous function. So you might say that, it's going to be a normal distribution with a mean of $15 and a standard deviation of maybe $2. And so our prediction about where our stock price is going to be tomorrow could be based on a Gaussian function, which has an area under the curve of 100%. Okay, so we know that the next state, given any previous state in our probability distribution, the next state has to, all the next states have to add up to 100%. One state always moves to another. So for today's workshop activity, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to apply this to a particular domain. And the domain that we're going to think about is DNA. Now, DNA is interesting because it's a very information-rich biological molecule. And if you are familiar with the DNA double helix, that double helix is like a ladder that's been twisted. And each rung of the ladder consists of 2 chemical bases that are drawn from, typically we say 4 different chemical bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Those 4 chemical bases are represented with their first letter, A, C, T, and G. Now, if you look at the diagram that's over my head, you can see that each rung of the ladder actually has 2 of those pairs associated with them, but those 2 pairs are always defined deterministically. So A and T always pair together, and G and C always pair together. So if we think about DNA, what we can think about is we can think about representing that helix as a sequence of letters A, C, T, and G, which represent moving up or down just one side of the ladder. And that forms we can represent that as a Markov chain. A Markov chain where each state is one of those 4 letters, and the transition between them is governed by a probability distribution. Okay, so now the thing about DNA is that the pattern of those bases along the rungs encode instructions for the rest of the cellular machinery to create a protein. But not every section of DNA is useful for encoding the proteins. Some of those sections of the DNA, some chunks of ladders, are considered non-coding regions. And your cell is able to identify which regions are coding and which regions are not coding, and only use the coding regions in order to create proteins. The part of your DNA that is removed and not made into a protein is called an intron. Sometimes it's referred to as your junk DNA, but more generally it's just called non-coding DNA because we're not 100% sure if it has any function at all. The other parts of the ladder that do encode the protein are called an exon, and an exon has the instructions, the building blocks for making proteins. So if we treat those bases as states in a Markov chain, from this we can produce 2 Markov models. One model which represents an intron, and another model which represents an exon. Then, if we look at a DNA helix that we've never seen before, some unknown portion of DNA, we can use those 2 Markov models that we've trained on known DNA regions in order to predict whether or not a section of DNA is an intron or exon. And we'll do that in a kind of toy example today in today's workshop. So in the little workshop activity that we do, we'll explore some of these issues about the Markov chain more explicitly. Okay? Then where we're going, moving on to that, is going to be a homework assignment. Your homework assignment is going to be similar to what we're doing in today's workshop. But instead of working with DNA base pairs, what we're going to do is we're going to work with texts, literary texts. And your states are going to be words, like vocabulary words. And your transition probabilities will be the probabilities of moving from one word to another word. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to train a few Markov models based on known authors. And then I'm going to give you some sentences, and I'm going to ask you to predict which author wrote those sentences by using the Markov model as a method for predicting an unknown sentence that you see. So we'll in the assignment, I'll walk you through the different steps of how we'll go about doing that. Okay, let me wrap this up and get this out on Canvas so you have something to go from, and I'll work with you today in order to try and get these things squared away. Thank you for your patience. Hope everything's going well out there. I'm wearing my green tie for St. Patrick's Day because I'm filming on St. Patrick's Day. Okay, thank you.